Welcome back, everyone, here to Bronx Talks. Today, got a very special video for you guys. We are going to be giving you 5 reasons why you should still watch and follow the New York Yankees here in 2023. Obviously, the Yankees have not had a good season. They're 5 games under 500. They're currently in the midst of a 9-game losing streak, and it doesn't really look like there's any light at the end of the tunnel. And it's definitely disappointing to see. But we are going to be giving you 5 reasons why you should still be invested and still be watching the New York Yankees.
Yeah. First up, we have maybe the best pitcher in baseball, if not in the American League, Garrett Cole, right? And this guy, if he keeps pitching well, is going to win a Cy Young. And that alone is super, super cool because it's been a while since we've had a Yankee Cy Young. Garrett Cole's first 2 years with the Yankees, really good, right? And then he showed up in the playoffs, and that's really all you could ask for from a Yankee ace. But we talked about it in the offseason. If Garrett Cole is a little more consistent, he's going to win the Cy Young. And he did that this year. You know, there's still a month to go. His recent start wasn't great. But if he can lock it down, have 5 more good starts, he's going to win it. And I think that's really, really cool because, I really like Garrett Cole. And he's one of the few bright spots on this team this year.
Yeah, he's the Yankee ace, and he's going to get a lot of hype, and he's just had a phenomenal season this year for the New York Yankees. He's really showed up for the Yankees, and him winning a Cy Young would just be really, really cool to see. It would etch his name into the history books for the New York Yankees, becoming the 6th Yankee pitcher to throw a Cy Young and the first since Roger Clemens did it in 2001. And I think it would just be really, really exciting to see as a Yankee fan.
Yeah. And next up, we have Anthony Volpe. Seeing how he finishes the season. Obviously, you look at the season, the stats, they're not going to jump off the page. But I would say for a rookie season right now, it's solid, right? He's probably going to hit 20 home runs. He stole a bunch of bags. He's played great defense. Really, if you told me at the beginning of the season this is what he was going to do, I think I'd be satisfied. Because at the bottom line, it's something to build off of. But I will say this last month for him, Ryan, is pretty important, especially for going into next season, because this is going to be a pretty big storyline in the offseason and spring training. Who is Anthony Volpe? This is kind of, next season's probably going to be his big one, right? His second one. He's a little more acclimated to the league. How does he perform? And a big part of that starts in this last month. You know how bad it would be if he goes in a slump and then the numbers plummet a little more and now he's not feeling great going into next year. But the opposite would be literally perfect. So it's kind of something to watch for.
Yeah, definitely. When the season's all said and done, you're going to look at Anthony Volpe's stats and you're going to see some things that he did really, really well. And you might see some things that, he definitely needs to improve on. And I think going into spring training next year with him being only 22 years old, being the starting shortstop for the New York Yankees, there's a lot of hype, there's a lot of pressure that comes with that. And there's going to be a lot of people talking about it. But I think, if Anthony Volpe could end the season on a high note, that would be big for his confidence. And I feel like going into next season, the kid works really, really hard. He's going to make some adjustments to better his game. And I think it could be really, really big for the New York Yankees in 2024 because the kid's only going to get better from here.
Yeah. Yesterday, Everson Pereira was called up, and there's a good chance Austin Wells will be called up later this month. And that's very exciting. We have talked about both these prospects for a while on here. And the fact that they're both going to get run this year is very, very exciting. We'll see how they perform. But Ryan, if these guys play well, they could be a big, big part of this Yankees team for like a while, like 6 years, even longer if you want to think about contracts. So, that's looking ahead a ton, but these are top prospects that have move through the farm system, especially Wells, pretty fast, and we're finally going to get to see them. So that especially Wells, I'm really excited to see what they're all about.
Yeah, definitely. We've said for many years now the Yankees need to get more homegrown talent on the field. They need to develop more players. And you compare those teams to the dynasty years, all the homegrown talent that was on those dynasty teams in the late 90s, early 2000s. And it's really nice to see the New York Yankees starting to push that homegrown talent up to the big league level. And it's going to be really exciting to see how these kids play and how it's going to affect the future and 2024, especially. As far as Wells, it's going to be interesting to see when he gets called up, whether it be the end of the month or when the rosters expand in September. But it's going to be really exciting to see these two kids play.
Yeah. Next up, I think Mike King's last month is going to be pretty interesting. Now, there was talks of making him a starter. He said he was willing to do it, and he expressed interest. And with Sevy, like 99% being gone after this year, there's going to be an open spot in the rotation. And you also have Montas gone, so there's no backup there. They don't necessarily have that much depth with starting pitching. It kind of makes sense, right? You take from a strength and you add it to not a weakness, but solidify that rotation. And if the Yankees want this year, my obviously he started I think 2 games this year, but not more as an opener. If the Yankees want, now that they're kind of definitely out of it, to experiment with him and stretch him out, well, that's kind of going to be noteworthy because he could be a pretty filthy starting pitcher.
Yeah, he definitely has the tools. He has the makeup to get it done, at least I believe, at the big league level as a starting pitcher. He came up as a starting pitcher. A lot of relievers have that same background coming up as starting pitcher, moving to the bullpen. But, if you could get Mike King in there in the rotation, knowing how dominant and how filthy he is, I feel like that could be a real big boost for the New York Yankees, especially going into next season. And there's no guarantees that this would happen. Obviously, you got to be a little bit careful with the injuries in the past with King. But I feel like if they could get this done and execute it well, that this would be a big, big upgrade for the New York Yankees team.
Yeah. And lastly, just seeing what Oswald Peraza is about, because it's a little weird that we basically did the same thing last year where he got called up for a month and then he spends the entire next year in AAA. And now we're doing the same thing again. He just got called up yesterday, and now he's going to get a full run for this last month. We'll see, because if he plays well, or even if he plays bad, Ryan, the Yankees have to do something with him next year. If I had to guess, I think he takes over at third base. But if he is going to take over at third base next year, let's see who our next third baseman is for the next 5 years. And we're getting a preview at him in September.